Okay, so welcome to Jacqui Bourne, who is a therapeutic coach, an empowerment coach, and also my Aries Sun friend. Welcome to my chat about Aries and what it means to live as an Aries Sun woman. So, hello.
Hello, thank you so much. I've been so looking forward to our conversation because whenever we get to be in the same Zoom room together, yeah, we end up having the most powerful conversations. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes up today.
That's amazing. Thank you for being here. And yeah, like Jacqui says, every time we speak, I'm kind of going, this needs to be recorded. So we said, okay, let's actually do it. So, one of the reasons that I found for doing this series is because at the moment the North Node is in Aries. That means that everybody is being called to be more Aries. Well, what does that mean? And I wanted to really showcase my Aries friends and colleagues and comrades in being Aries. So, at this time, more people are feeling into and wanting to know, even on an unconscious level, what does it mean to be able to show up as more Aries, take more personal responsibility, to stand up as your own self leader? Okay, so this is possibly on an unconscious level, like I say, but we know we're kind of bringing it into consciousness. And when we have a sun sign in whatever our zodiac sign is, that's our sun sign, that is our masculine personality core development. So it sits in our solar plexus. So by this time in our lives, we are hopefully embodying and just living and being more Aries. And this is so much the reason that I wanted to showcase your energy just coming through you. So I'm not going to ask you about being an Aries because I think that that will just come through as you're talking. But let's just start by I would love you to just tell me a little bit about the story that you told me when we last met about your grandmother. I'm just going to leave that to you.
Sure. Yeah, that was a story that I was reminded of last week because I've been going through a bit of changes again in my life, and I was reminded by her that I'm her granddaughter and I'm strong and I'm able to do whatever I put my mind to. And this comes off the back of her story where she was in her early 30s, and it was during the war, the Second World War. And my mum, I think, was about 9 or 10, and then she had two younger sisters, and they had to flee the country that they were living in at that point in time under the cover of darkness because my grandmother had a bounty on her head. And if she didn't leave when she did, well, who knows what would have happened. So they each packed a little backpack and yeah, walked from wherever they were through the forests and got to the port that they were meant to be going to. Caught a boat, a ship, and I think they spent about 6 weeks or so on the sea, and landed in an African country where her dad was then part of one of the armies there, and he'd bought a piece of land, and she decided she was going to go and find a safe place for herself and her three daughters, only to find that when she eventually got there that he'd passed away, and the money that he'd left from the sale of the farm had been mostly squandered by the solicitor that had been handling the estate.
Wow.
So she set up a little general dealer, like a little corner store, on the edge of an African settlement, and she traded with the African people that lived there, and that's how she provided for herself and my mum and her two sisters. And yeah, as I say, it's been
Is that
good.
amazing?
In nowadays, to think that you're going to go and do something like that is scary, let alone, in the 1940s. You know what I mean? There's no internet, there's no telephone, there's nothing, and you just get on this boat and travel. So I draw great strength from her story, and knowing that if she could do that, then I can do anything that I put my mind to now.
Absolutely. It's such a profound story of courage, of bravery. And it's like that taking action when really there isn't that much choice. But at the point where there is no choice in life, survive or don't survive, we choose survival, we choose onward motion. And your grandmother was protecting her daughters, protecting her children, and choosing to live, choosing aliveness. And the irony of going to the one place that she felt was going to be, safety and protection, but only to find out that she needed to find that inner courage again to do her own thing. It's an enormous story of bravery, isn't it?
Was from there. I mean, she wouldn't have been able to, well, she probably would have been able to go back to where she came from, but you're going back into what you've left.
Yeah.
And so really I suppose at the end of the day it's not really an option. So you just make you make the best of your current situation, and you
Yeah.
find that inner resilience that you didn't know you had.
Absolutely. And it will have taken so much resilience, won't it? And then, so through, this is your maternal grandmother, isn't it? So that's so strongly running through the mother line for you. And I always experience your energy very much whenever you speak. I experience strength and warmth and that female matriarchal power coming through you. I feel it. I feel it through you. Now, our sun signs are just one day apart, aren't they? Because our birthdays are so close together. But then this storyline came through you as well, didn't it? Because you actually totally left the place where you were from and went to a whole new country with your children.
Yeah. So I left South Africa 7.5 years ago. I started planning, funnily enough, about 8 years ago to around about this time, and decided that I was going to be moving to the UK. I'd never been to visit. It was just one of those things I decided I was going to do. And on paper, it didn't look like it would even, was even capable of happening. But I was, yeah, determined, stubborn maybe, but I was determined that it was going to work out one way or other.
Yeah.
And yeah, we arrived here on the 26th of December, and into a country that I'd never been to before. I moved over with my then partner, and 6 months after we arrived here, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness and passed away 2.5 years later. So it was quite an interesting
Wow.
journey. And yeah, but I was able to get my daughters into the UK as well, when their dad decided that he was getting remarried and no longer had any need for them. So yeah, we happy here, the three of us together, and yeah, none of us want to go back. It's not
Yeah.
a We
Yeah.
made the decision when we came that we're going all in, and this is our home now. And
And that feels key to me, that decision. You just decided and therefore you took action. You did it. Yeah.
yeah,
And that in itself holds power, it holds courage, it holds bravery, doesn't it? And yet in life, I'm sure you've been in situations, I have. I think we all do, where we second guess ourselves and we go, oh, should I do this thing? Should I do this other thing? And we
yeah,
can dilly dally. And yet when you really, when you tell those stories of absolute just I've made that decision, therefore it's going to happen. There's no going back on this. It's very much similar to the vibration of your grandmother. It's like, boom, I'm doing this. There's so much power in it, isn't there?
absolutely. But the thing is, I mean, yeah, there are times when I don't have that power. I don't always show up in that. And there have been times where I have dilly-dallied and faffed about and second guessed myself, and not gone with my gut feel, and not listened to my intuition, and look back on it and thinking, I should have just listened to what my gut feel at that point in time. But
Mm,
you can't beat yourself up for that. You just learn from it, and keep improving. And each time you get that nudge, that reminder, or that feeling to act on it, rather than push it aside and think, oh, what are people going to say if I do such and such? Because when I moved over here, I don't think there was one person in my close family and surrounds that actually thought that I was doing the right thing.
right.
And
So
now
you
they're
went
all
against
now
everybody and
arguing,
everything.
you're the one with the British passport. If only we had had the courage, we could have done that too. And
Wow, that's interesting. So you didn't just back yourself. It was like going against what everybody else thought. It's very interesting.
a lot of them said, "Oh, well, you can always come back." I was like,
No,
"I'm not coming back.
yeah.
Come visit, but I'm not moving back."
Mm. And what when you go into that place of complete self-trust, complete bravery, what is happening for you? What does that experience sort of feel like if you tune into that inner core of you?
It's like this fire that's burning in my sort of my solar plexus area. That is like I can just feel it, and my whole body starts, I don't say vibrating, but I can feel it like, but like the rumble when the elephants start, making their little rumbles, and when they're about to stop moving. I feel that, and I feel there's the energy charge, and I just know that that's the right thing to the right direction to be going in.
Wow. I love that you say that because to me it feels like when I experience that same charge, it's like a cross between an earthquake or a volcano. So it's quite interesting that it's all about nature again and about Mother Earth. It's about the almost like an effervescent, strong bubbling. And I think that's almost like a mirror for the elephant stampede as well.
Yeah.
It feels very much of the earth, as though Mother Earth is saying, come on, it's time to rise, it's time to rise. And then that courage bubbles up, and that's where the action springs from. I imagine myself as a volcano when that happens. I just have to be a little bit careful not to be emitting the lava on everybody.
Yeah, no, I can be a bit like an elephant that is charging as well, and the trunks going all over the place. But an interesting fact about elephants, though, is they are so connected to the energy of the earth that they can feel when they need to go to higher ground from where they are. They need to move from one place to the other place if there's going to be bad weather and things like that. They know just by feeling what's going on. And there's a game reserve or safari park in South Africa that houses a well-known herd of elephants, and it's quite close to some mines they're doing some mining activity, and they can feel for some reason when the mining is going to start, and then they move further away from where the explosions are going to be happening. So it's just interesting to they are so in touch with the energy that.
Yeah. So they're very in touch with the vibrations and the energy of the earth.
Yeah.
I love that. And that feel the connection that I feel with you is very much like a fire that comes from the earth, and it's a rising up of that feminine energy, the rise of the sacred feminine warrior within. That's how that energy comes through, I feel. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? I wonder, do you feel that you have anything to say about how other people may tap into that?
No, I'm still learning to tap into it myself.
Yeah.
To be fair, because right through my entire life, I've always been told, don't be too much, don't be so loud, don't make so much noise, be the good girl, be quiet. Who do you think you are? Or nobody wants to hear your opinion. Um, all those things. So I've had lots of, squashing down and kind of like almost snuffing out of that fire all the
Yes.
time. And I
Mhm.
feel like I constantly am, bursting back into flame again. And just to be, have people try and snuff me out, but I might appear that I'm snuffed out, or not, but this that's still smoldering underneath, and soon enough I'm back again. It
Mhm.
What I would say is go back to within yourself, and listen to what, your inner voice.
Mhm.
Be still, because I find I try and busy myself with so many things,
Mhm.
but I've silenced a lot of that. I've
Mhm.
been quiet to just, and that's when that I can feel that fire start burning again. It's
Mhm.
allowing that space. Because if you're too busy, then
Mm. It's all
it's
noise.
yeah. And it's like that if you do start a fire outside, and in your fire pit, and there's too much wind and there's too much everything going on, that fire's not going to take.
Mm.
It almost needs to be that little bit of stillness for that fire to catch, and then it can withstand whatever's coming its way. But it needs that sacred space to, yeah,
Mm.
and you need to constantly reconnect with yourself.
I love that. I love the whole tuning into the inner fire because we all have it. Yeah, we are probably, me and you are probably a little bit more practiced in having to sense and attune to the inner fire with being Sun in Aries, because literally if we are going to tune into our personal power, our sovereignty, our solar plexus, that is fire. I mean, I've got 5 planets in fire, so it's like the fire kind of feels present. But like you say, if we're tuning into that inner fire, it's having to burn and blaze against the outside noise of lots of other forms of suppression. Now, I noticed in your language you said snuff out. Now, that's like a diminishment of the air, isn't it? It's taking the air away. So air feeds fire. Yeah. So air makes fire go up. But if it's snuffed out, it's like a candle snuffer, isn't it? It's like, goodbye. Yeah. I have also experienced dampening. So that's the water element dampening the fire, isn't it? But then you also mentioned stamping a fire out. So then there's the stampede and the earth element stamping it out. So it is tuning back into, where's my little glowing ember? There she is, and allowing that to grow against a tide of, I'm not going to be smothered by that, dampened by that, snuffed out by that. That actually it is a choice to bring the fire, isn't it?
And it's about surrounding yourself with people with the air signs that are going to fan that fire, the earth signs that are that are going to allow you to be able to have the wood, whatever it is that your fire needs.
Yeah.
And then the water, we do need to put water onto a fire to a point where we need to make hot water. So it's about surrounding ourselves with the right people and putting the boundaries in place for those people that are going to snuff us out, dampen us down, and trample us to the ground. So it's again being very aware of how we feel when we are around certain people. And that's why I think a lot of times I've seen with people as well is their significant other is aligning with someone who can actually hold that space and allow you to your fire to burn the way it needs to burn, and not be the one that is snuffing you out or dampening you down. It's and I don't think it's something that everyone can do. It's
I would agree.
it's I'm trying to find the right words. It feels like it's almost like a butterfly as well, where the butterfly's in the hand and you're holding the butterfly. It's like, don't squish the butterfly and hold it tight, because then the butterfly is going to be dead. It's letting the butterfly land on your hand, interacting with it, and then allowing it to keep coming and going. It's the same thing with the fire. It's allowing that fire to burn and to go down a bit if it needs to, come back to life, but it's holding that space, and it's finding those people that can, whether it's the significant other and friends, close friends around, because I think a lot of close friends as well sometimes feel, whew, that was a bit hot. You know what I mean? When we're in our fiery
Proper
space.
fire energy. I agree. And as the whole time you were talking, I was imagining, like if you go to a fire display, like if it's bonfire night or whatever, and there is literally a boundary around, isn't it? Because you don't want people to get burned. So there has to be a safety element. So of course people can't actually think that they can come too close with their energy, because otherwise the fire goes out. If there's that many people all with the buckets of water all at the same time dampening you down, the fire gets no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like sitting there like a piece of little pathetic smoke on the floor. So it's like, no, actually we've got to allow space, set the safe boundary. You've got some people on fanning the flames.
Some putting some wood on. That's a good
Some
thing.
putting the wood on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
And
those people who are maybe a little bit more afraid of the fire, because fire can be, it can destroy as well as burn brightly. Yeah. Providing the heat, providing that huge energy, but also it can be destructive if it's completely out of control. So yeah, it's like that controlled burn.
yeah, that's it. And with that control burn, you've got someone who's holding space for that control burn to happen, the fire marshal or whatever you want to call that person. They are helping the fire to burn the way it needs to be burning
Mm.
and supporting them, because without that, the fire could potentially either go out and not do anything, or go completely in the wrong direction. So
Yes, in the wrong direction. That's so interesting. I'm having so many metaphors come up as you're talking, but
even how the
also,
wind blows, again, the air, the air could then blow it in a different direction, could turn it back on, on the fire again, and could be burning backwards. So it's, yeah, got to be so
yeah,
careful.
that's right. And actually, sometimes, I'm just thinking about in the olden days when there was a huge fire that was out of control, they actually destroyed certain buildings to create a fire break
Yeah.
because too much fire out of control is, it can destroy entire cities and did do, as well as many lives, yeah, and the homes.
Mm.
So there's got to be that break, hasn't there?
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, yeah, I'm feeling into how we now advise people to harness their inner Aries spark, but also be so mindful of that safety, the safe barriers, the safe space holding as the controlled burn is allowed to rise up.
I think it's taking time out for yourself. The old cliche of self-care, but that goes beyond that. It's just allowing yourself to, you know, come into your own, have your own space away from all the expectations, to be able to do whatever it is that you do, whether it's going for walks or doing your hobby, or yeah, whatever it is, watching TV if that's what you want to do. It's absolutely doing, but it's having that time away where there's no expectations on you, and you could just have that space
Yeah.
for yourself to. Because I think I find that if I'm full on all the time, that burn sometimes becomes so intense
Mm,
that I end up snapping at people or saying things that I don't intend to say,
hmm.
but because I'm so fired up.
Yes.
Um,
Or
but
burnout, like
yeah,
literally burnout. I've used too much energy. I don't have anything left.
yeah, and that's it. And then you just become, misery and depressed, and
Yeah.
you literally got nothing left to give anybody. So
Yes. And then
it,
you kind of need stoking, like stoke the fire. Where's the coal?
I know, but even then, sometimes the stoking, it just takes too much effort. Just, you know, it's almost like, oh, just let me just be for a bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, I think that's quite right. Let me just be for a bit. I can definitely resonate with that. And we were talking about the collective rising of Aries energy. Now, within the feminine, and if we're talking about the divine feminine, and we're also owning the part of us that is the god of war, ruled by Mars, that I definitely feel a rise of justified, righteous feminine rage and that sacred rage coming through the feminine. Now, I do think that it's a particular energy, and I think it is more easily embodied in Aries than any other sign that I've seen, perhaps also in Sagittarius. I think they're pretty good at also holding that burning fire of the feminine. Um, but also just to acknowledge that if people are called into expressing this, there are a myriad ways of how other people can misconstrue what that energy is, shame it as anger. Anger is not an emotion that's allowed, therefore we're going to snuff it out, and we're back to the snuffing out. And I think at this time there has been we've done a lot of work. Most women have done a lot of work. There's been a lot of personal development work, a lot of emotional development work, a lot of spiritual development work. And then it feels like, okay, we're just going to be over here burning, doing our thing, saying our thing. But you know what? There's a rise of an energy where we need to be met by the masculine now.
Yeah, 100%.
And that feels collective to me. Does that feel true for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in order for us to rise as the feminine, the masculine needs to be there as the almost the fire pit to support us, so that we can, go together,
Mm,
but allowing the woman to speak and to have that sacred feminine warrior rage that they need to have,
yeah.
because that's a different kind of rage to what a masculine male rage is, because they just go, into, I'm not thinking straight, I'm just going to do whatever
Mm,
want to do. Whereas from the feminine side, you come at it more from a nurturing point of view as well,
mm,
thinking at it from the bigger picture, the whole community side of things, what's in it, what's best for all of us, not just for one person, the ego that's becoming rising up for the masculine. So it's yeah, so if the masculine can create that safe space, that strength from which the fire can rise,
Yes.
then can you imagine what we'll be able to achieve?
I think it's amazing. However, that will need more men, and I am totally generalizing here. So if I'm triggering people who are listening, sorry, not sorry. It will require more men to step up and heal their own personal inner wounds and see the patterns that are happening in the collective. But it does require a lot of personal work to get through those mother wounds, inner child wounds, and we all have them. And it's not emasculating to do work on the inner emotions. It's absolutely fucking necessary. In fact, essential. Otherwise, a man is not able to stand up and be the warrior who is clearing the space for the female to burn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
yeah, she's burning with the sacred rage that's coming through the womb, saying, we are not having this situation again because this is the impact on the children. Therefore, it's a sacred rage that rises in protection for future generations.
Yeah, but like you said, we can't do it without the support of the masculine. Well, we'll just have to burn without them, but it'll definitely be a lot easier if they did rise up and not look at it as if it's everybody else's problem to sort themselves out. And there's nothing wrong with me, and I'm not forgiving whoever it is that has made me feel the way I'm feeling. I'm gonna hang on to this till the die kind of thing. It's like, be the bigger person and do it for everybody else and yourself.
And you know what? I feel we're back to the quality of courage because it takes so much courage to face your own self, doesn't it? I feel like it's the biggest work we ever do, saying, who am I and what's inside of me? And allowing ourselves to face that mirror and to say to others, be that mirror, reflect back to me, what am I not seeing here? And allowing it to be, the whole self-undoing, the unraveling, the unlocking, the unbinding. Dare to go there, because that treasure that you find at the bottom of the ocean, of the inner well, that's the thing that takes us forward. While ever we're just suppressing ourselves and going, oh no, I'm not looking at that, it's so much easier to point the finger at others. We're not actually doing any meaningful work that takes us forward, are we?
Yep. Well, how are you going to get that the tiny little spark, that little gem that's inside of you to start fanning into a bigger fire if you're not allowing it to get, to see the light of day, because
Yeah.
you're keeping all the stuff, baggage piled on top of it.
Yeah. So it feels very much about tuning into the inner warrior, the inner spark, the inner courage. And I know you said before something, not in this conversation, but something about how women, we don't have to take radical action, say such as the suffragettes did with burning bras. Again, we're back to burning metaphors, but they literally did, that's not a metaphor, but they did have to do something so dramatic in that day and age just to be taken seriously.
And now we can build on that, and we can show that we have got that inner strength, that inner fire that can come through. And when we are finally heard and listened to and supported, we can create amazing things.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I think we probably came to the end of what we had to discuss today. And I want to thank you so much for having this discussion with me, for just allowing whatever needed to come through in the way that it did. And if anybody wants to reach out to Jacqui at all, I'll pop all of her details in the notes below in the description. And thanks again, Jacqui, for joining me today.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. It's lovely as always to speak with you.